And now you have Daryl Morey, who's like, we're not trading Ben Simmons unless we get a top 30 player back without, maybe he does realize it, but Ben Simmons isn't a top 30 player anymore. So it's like the depth of talent in the league, like there's 30 players right now that are better than Ben, unfortunately. So it's like he's unwilling to settle on that. If you look at like a player like Zach LaVine, right? 2 years ago, the Sixers wouldn't have made a Ben Simmons for Zach LaVine trade unless there was something else thrown in from the Bulls side. Now, the Bulls are not the ones that are going to make the Zach LaVine trade. The Sixers would have to throw things in. So let
me put you on game.
Get into my last wish, and I'm sure it's a wish that you also would share. Like, can we trade Ben Simmons? Can we please just trade Ben Simmons? Like, no matter how much the national news media says that they're tired of talking about it or they don't want to reference it anymore, like it keeps coming up. Like anytime Kyrie has issues in Brooklyn or Dame has issues in Portland, like, oh, well, let's solve this, a Ben Simmons trade. And then we end up bringing it back up. So we bring it back up inevitably, like every 2 weeks, like, should we or should we not talk about it? And then we end up talking about it anyway. And it's like, I don't know, it just doesn't seem like it's going to happen soon, but I really wish that it would, because it seems like both sides are firmly entrenched in what they want to do and how they want to go about it. And it doesn't seem like anyone is really willing to budge. It seems like it's a matter of pride at this point, because like you look at the Sixers and you look at what they're going through as a team, whether that be injuries to Joel or COVID protocols, and you look at what they could possibly need on the team. And the answer is Ben Simmons. The Sixers need Ben Simmons, but it's like, because of everything that happened last year, because of all of the doubts about him from players and staff and, his behavior in training camp and the fan base, floating trash cans, all that stuff, and Ben's behavior in training camp and the whole stories about his mental health and him using that as leverage and all this other stuff. Like there's so much bad blood, but no one realizes that he could really help the team with what he brings to the table. But like, because of everything that's happened, that's not going to happen. And now you have Daryl Morey, who is like, we're not trading Ben Simmons unless we get a top 30 player back without, maybe he does realize it, but Ben Simmons isn't a top 30 player anymore. So it's like the depth of talent in the league, like there's 30 players right now that are better than Ben, unfortunately. So it's like, he's unwilling to settle on that, like, if you want to look at Ben Simmons' value, right? Like before the season, just to pull the Bulls back into it, because that's what I do. If you look at like a player like Zach LaVine, right? 2 years ago, the Sixers wouldn't have made a Ben Simmons for Zach LaVine trade unless there was something else thrown in from the Bulls side. Now, the Bulls are not the ones that are going to make the Zach LaVine trade. The Sixers would have to throw things in. So if you look at Zach, right? Zach, before this season, even though he was an all-star, likely by a lot of people is not considered a top 30 player in the NBA. By me, he's top 20. But to a lot of people, he's not a top 20 to 30 player in the league. But the Bulls wouldn't trade Ben Simmons for him. So it's like, if you're looking at that as the metric, Ben Simmons is not necessarily worth a top 30 player. Like it's convoluted, analogies here, but I mean, it's you kind of get what I'm saying. Like,
his
value isn't where it is. So like, I just think that the way that both sides are operating, like somebody has to budge on whether it's the Sixers standards or whether it's Ben's willingness to return to Philly or Philly's willingness to have Ben back, however you want to put it. But yeah, somebody has to budge, and I hope they budge soon, because we're sick and tired out here, bro.
Oh yeah. I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired of this 76ers situation. I think that Daryl Morey, I don't think it'll happen, but he might get fired on the back of him just not budging on this trade. And when between that and just the embarrassment that it is having a player who's just saying, who's saying what he's saying, and just in an inability to make a legitimate trade offer materialize, and you're just harping on the value. I mean, what's the value in your team looking terrible and you wasting Joel Embiid's prime? What's the value in that? There's a cost to everything. It's not just abstract numbers that you can just sit on. It's not an investment. It's a win now window. So they need to get their act together and just figure out what they're going to do. And at the end of the day, the best ability is availability. Our team, a team that's going to trade for Ben Simmons is going to say, sir, are you going to have your mental health in check, or are you going to, sit out for the rest of the season? Like, what's going to happen?
Is the mental health thing even real though, or is it a chip? Is it a bargaining chip?
And that muddies the whole situation. So if you're on the phone with Daryl Morey, you're like, okay, is he going to want to play for me? Like if I bring him in, if I cash in all these assets, is your guy going to suit up? Or is he going to say, I don't want to be here. Please trade me to another place. I got a house in LA.
He's just not suiting up for the Sixers. His mental health will likely be bad as long as he's wearing a Sixers uniform. I think it'll be a lot better in a place that's maybe sunnier, like California, or maybe a Florida team, or somewhere else, and maybe in Texas. Like who knows where? But I think he did have a lot of mental health issues from the incident. I think he's taken a lot of flack. I think he's taken a lot of damage from the media. So I don't want to understate that or doubt his mental health. But I do think the mental health is being used to not have him return to the Sixers, because they were trying to force him to play, and he was like, well, I got to pull something out. So that I feel like that's what came out of the hat. But to your point, I do think that the Sixers are in a very integral time in their franchise, because Joel hasn't been the healthiest player. He's been dominant, of course, when he does play, but we don't know how long he's going to be dominant, because he is in his prime right now. And I don't know how long that prime is going to last. I hope it does, because I do enjoy watching him play. But this is a critical moment for the Sixers as a franchise, and we don't know if they're going to be able to capitalize on it at all, because they have this disgruntled superstar. But that's my wish for Ben to be traded, for Kyrie to no longer be a part-time player, hopefully somewhere else that's not Brooklyn, and the whole Damian Lillard situation. Like, I hope that gets figured out as well. All of these things that are hanging in the air, I need them to be resolved by the trade deadline, because if the trade deadline passes and then we got to endure another couple months of this, wondering what's going to happen to these three players in the summer now, it's been a year-long saga at that point. So that's my last wish. Any other thoughts on Ben, Kyrie, or Dame?
Nah, I mean, the Trailblazers are 13 and 19 right now. They're looking like a complete dumpster fire. Lillard saying, I don't want to be traded. Continue to struggle with this franchise until mid to late 30s, and enjoy the rest of your career, bro. That's all I can say. I wish CJ comes back healthy. And as far as Kyrie goes, hopefully he gets hopefully they figure something out with him. Hopefully he gets back from health and safety protocols and can contribute to the team in a meaningful way. But I am certainly tired of hearing about it. But hey, that's what the drama of the NBA gives us. It gives us all these talking points to hash out different scenarios in our heads. So, take it for what it is, I suppose.
Yeah, the world's best soap opera. But we'll probably put this on YouTube. So let us know in the comments if you think the Ben Simmons situation should be resolved differently and how they're doing with that. Or let us know in an email if you're just listening to the podcast what you think. Join the conversation.